I built my e-commerce career, a web series where we dive into some amazing talent and how they build their career within e-commerce industry. My name is Dimity Edwards, and I am the account manager at Hunt & Co, specializing in digital marketing and e-commerce. For those that haven't heard of us before, Hunt & Co is a boutique recruitment agency based in Brisbane, Australia. And I know I have mentioned it before, but I honestly have the best job in the world, where I get to work with some of Australia's best e-commerce businesses. And in turn, that means I do get to work with hundreds of people within the e-commerce industry looking to either grow a career, move into different roles within the industry, and I guess deep dive across multiple different businesses and strategies. Getting into an e-commerce job can absolutely look different to every single person. And today's beautiful guest, Hannah, is a living, breathing example of that. Having worked as a casual staff member at Colette, moving to a stock take coordinator at Lavisa, working as a social experience assistant at Highsmell, and now the email marketing and CRM specialist at VRG. I don't know if there's much this person has not got involved in when it comes to e-commerce and retail. So Hannah, I am so excited to be speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the nice intro as well.
You guys sit there like, oh, I've done a lot, right?
Yeah. I know sometimes it's a bit like overwhelming. I'm like, oh my God, okay.
Well, I did do some stalking. My job is being a real life stalker in a non-creepy way, but yeah, tell us a little bit around your journey and how you got to where you are today.
So I would say it probably started while I was studying at university. I pretty much from the get-go have always I want to fill up my life being busy. So while I was studying full time, I was also seeking a lot of extra work. So I started in retail and then just constantly put my hand up for things. So I think that was kind of where I got to start off my career. And from there, I made it a huge priority to jump on LinkedIn and just really start building out my profile and network while I was studying. And because I was putting my hand up for things at my retail job, which was just like a part-time job, yeah. I ended up having a lot of things to actually add to my LinkedIn. And then I was eventually approached for my first e-com job, which was just in customer or social experience, it was called there. So that was kind of my little segue into the e-com world. But yeah, I think just being on LinkedIn really, really helped.
Thank you. Thank you. You said it. I've been waiting for someone to say this, because I think when you're at university or when you're really starting out in this career, people often don't leverage what they've already done as a marketing tool, which is so exciting. So thank you so much for diving into that. Hannah does have an amazing LinkedIn. I'll add the link somewhere, but you should all check out. She does fill it out, which is amazing for a recruitment point of view, which is cool. But looking back on your career, was there a critical part in, obviously you're now working as the email marketing specialist and CRM specialist. Is there a critical point where you were like, all right, I've gone from customer service and I'm now an email marketer? What was like the turning point for maybe, getting into like almost a specialized position within an e-commerce company?
Yeah, so I think finding a piece of advice I was given quite early on from another recruiter was, who was actually in my family.
Love that.
No competition, but she said to me that the best thing to do is to find your niche, because a lot of people think when you're studying in marketing or business that you just learn the basics and then you'll kind of end up somewhere. But looking and deep diving into those niches, whether that's like paid advertising, email marketing and retention strategy and owned marketing, or if it's social media or PR, or just really having your little thing, because I didn't realize how many little things are out there, and that's kind of the direction that things are going. You have a lot less people who are just the marketing person anymore. You have the e-com manager, like the web designer, you have a whole team of different people. So really seeking out, just trying to learn what areas there are and what would best suit my own skills. And I think because I'd come from a customer service background, I think that segued me into CRM and email marketing, just really thinking about the customer journey. And that's a whole area of marketing that's like just so tailored to me. So I think that was kind of, the pivotal point for me was learning what else was within marketing, not just what marketing is.
I love that. And e-commerce business does and how it operates, because you will realize there is 10 specialists that all do one slice, but understand the overarching like business strategy because they have worked in an e-commerce business from the ground up, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that was so pivotal, because I think if I didn't work in e-commerce in the customer experience team, or for other people who just work in the warehouse or things like that, or even just on front desk reception or things like that,
Yeah.
when you were in those positions, you learn so much that you never would have known. And you're like, oh, so this is how it actually works.
And obviously I don't want to take anything away, because that is just one way to get into an e-com business. And there is so many different ways you can skin a cat. Is that the saying? So what about those people that have built a career, who are a web developer, who are an want to become an e-commerce specialist, who are a digital marketer, who maybe want to transition into a more specialist role? What's your advice? And what do you think? How do they bridge the gap?
I think maybe a good way, well, always putting your hand up. I think that's really something, not overstepping things, but just saying, like, if you're in a position, you notice there's a vacancy for that role. Sorry, I have a plane that's about to go over. You might hear it.
Hopefully they're going to a beautiful destination.
Yeah, no, I live near the airport, so it's every hour or so.
All good. Hopefully they're going to Thailand.
I know, that'd be nice. But yeah, so I would suggest, just putting your hand up and always being open to learn new things. And even just speaking to the other people within your team on a casual basis, whether that's at lunch or things like that, about what they do and understanding their role a bit better if they're in a role that you want to learn a bit more about or something like that. And also, if it's something that your company or organization hasn't looked into, asking your boss or the person above you if you could take a course in something, or just showing them how this part or this specialized thing will expand the business, and then that basically that you want to learn that. So
you talked about connecting with someone that you might want to learn a little bit more from and their career history. Is there a future? Where do you see the future going with e-commerce? Is there a potential roles right now that maybe people could put their hands up, do a little extra homework, because these are going to be the roles of the future when it comes to e-commerce? Surely you've thought about that within your own world. But yeah, I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on those.
Definitely. So I think in terms of where the industry is going, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but because cost of acquisition is getting so expensive, and the world of and the landscape of paid advertising is just out of control now, I think a lot of businesses are honing in on their loyalty programs, like really optimizing their customer experience. I think we're going to see a lot of new opportunities in that area. So I think a role that I'm seeing come up a lot is community management. Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into the industry as well, because if you're starting in like a customer experience role or a community role, it's a really, really good starting point for a career in e-com. I know that, when I was working in social experience, that's where I learned so much about the customer journey and things like that. And that has been the vital thing, I think, in my career, is understanding, customer journey and just customer journey mapping and things like that. And just building tone of voice, branding, content marketing. And I think we're going to see as well, an interesting thing I've noticed is a lot of offline marketing is coming back. Yeah, so the whole omni-channel experience, I think we're going to see a really big connection again between digital and real life. So I think there's going to be new opportunities again in the physical marketing world for people in e-com. So I think it's definitely, I'm bridging that gap. So I think there's some roles popping up in that'll be really exciting.
I know that I'm particularly working on a very cool role as a retail director, and the whole idea is to bridge that gap with pop-ups. And so their whole role is to build pop-ups in key cities where their community is. And I think that's such a brilliant role that 12 months ago, 5 years ago, we would not have had a role like this. So I think it's a really exciting time to kind of choose your own adventure within e-com a little bit.
That's super awesome. I love hearing about the path because I think gone are the days where a lot of people are traveling for work. So I think it's nice to kind of bring that back in. So I know a lot of even like buyers and things like that, they used to do trips all the time. And now it's like so rare to do a trip overseas.
You're just on your laptop buying the different products that you need.
You don't need to go and visit anymore. So I think any excuse to get people traveling again. And well, that's the reality. I think now that we're coming out of COVID and that whole COVID era of digital, I think people are so fatigued of digital. It's nice to see some fresh physical offline marketing. So we might even see, I think, things like print happening again. So if you're a graphic designer, you might find print is coming back, and magazines, zines as well. I don't know if you've
haven't even heard of this concept.
Yeah, so the concept of a zine is like a publication that's not for a big organization. It could be for a small business, and you release like a little limited collection of like blog posts into a cool little magazine. We're going to see things happening, and like you said, pop-ups. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity in that area.
I love that. And for you, I do see how you're so knowledgeable. You clearly immersed yourself in the industry, right? Are you looking to any other industries for inspiration?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm always, because we're in the fashion industry, I'm always looking into fashion magazines, particularly Rush magazine for our business. But just kind of looking at what magazines and newspapers and things like that do. I think there's a lot to be taken from the content marketing of things like magazines and editorials, and taking that into businesses who are direct to consumer products, and just creating, I think, like a whole story around your brand like you would in a magazine. And yeah, I think that's an industry I'm taking things from. I think as well, this is a bit more design focused, I would say, but I think a lot of people are taking things from architecture. Like a lot of trends.
Yeah, like an actual like engineering architecture. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be taken from different industries into e-com and just branding and things like that.
And simply broken down, this is probably something I should have done in all my other videos, but we're going to kick it off. What does an email marketer actually do on a day-to-day basis within an e-commerce business?
Oh, so email marketing. So what an email marketer would do, depending on whether you work in an agency or for a business, it can look a little bit different. So in an agency, because you're working with lots of different clients, you'll be doing the same thing sort of every day for a different brand. But email marketing is sort of one part of my day now. So I do get to go a bit deeper into other areas of our entire owned marketing strategy. So what it looks like for me now, and I do get to actually go a bit deeper now that I'm not on the agency side. So what it looks like is basically on a foundational level, scheduling emails, scheduling EDMs, building out flows, which are automated emails, and really looking into, I do a lot of testing. I think that is one of the biggest things that is underestimated, is how much you are testing things and trialing new segmentation, looking at data. Like a lot of my day is spent looking at results. And looking at ways to improve on results. And there's a lot of content marketing strategy in email marketing too, which is really fun. So I think it's a really great role for people who are both creative and analytical. Combines the two. You're kind of coming up with these creative concepts, thinking about what your audience is responding to, and then also thinking about new ways to test different audiences and how they respond. And yeah, it's a nice little balance of both.
I love that. And what are some of those skill sets required to really do well within your job?
So I think really good time management is important. I mean, that's literally any job, but I think knowing, being on top of the omni-channel too, I think that's really, really important. And thinking about different send times of different things. I think you have to have a really, really strong attention to detail, and thinking about the other end of how your content is being received, if that makes sense. So I think sometimes an example is like, you've really got to be thinking about, okay, if I'm sending this email at this time to this particular audience, what does this mean for the next piece of content that goes out? And do I want to make sure this certain group is being excluded because they're going to receive this message? So you've really got to be putting all the little dots together and thinking about the map of everything. So like really high attention to detail is probably the biggest thing. I guess spotting new opportunities. So being somebody who's always looking out for new ideas and following a lot of other brands, you need to be really engaged with the wider circle, because otherwise you're never going to grow, I guess. Being open to change as well. That's the biggest thing I can ever recommend. If you're doing the same thing that you did 6 months ago, I guarantee it's not working. So
no, that I can imagine. And not being tunnel visioned, I think, is a very important part in any job. Don't just look at what your organization does, like look at your competitors, look at other industries, which I love you touched on, that you actually go to magazines and newspapers to get inspiration, which I think is really fascinating. Is there any particular softwares, if someone wanted to become an email marketer or get into CRM, is there any softwares they should be familiar with or should explore just in their own time to want to build into that career?
Yes, definitely. I am biased, but the best email marketing platform is Klaviyo. And if you don't know Klaviyo, you need to learn it. Their guides and their training material is really incredible. Like, you just need to give it the time. But I've learned pretty much everything I've learned through doing all of their tutorials. So it's like, it's all out there for you, and it's all free if you have an account. So so I think their training is really incredible. Some other platforms, I think really familiarizing yourself with all of the plugins and things that integrate with Klaviyo, because you'll find that a lot of your other all of the other activities that are happening on your e-com site are going to feed into your email marketing strategy. So that's like back in stock notifications, your loyalty program, your reviews. So some platforms I really like are obviously Yotpo is just incredible. They have the whole three-pronged system of SMS, their loyalty program, and their reviews. So looking at their service offering, having a play around, if you can get a demo or something like that. Another one is Okendo, which is a really great review platform. And just kind of, just trialing a bunch of different platforms, I think, is really important, because once you kind of familiarize yourself with those and you can put those on your CV, I think you'll be open to a lot more opportunities. A lot of businesses are just looking for people who really already know the platforms. So just exposing yourself to lots of different ones and just trial them on your own, like make an email address, set up a free trial if you can, and just give it all a go.
Definitely would recommend checking out some of those softwares and platforms, because there are some amazing ones out there. Kind of to wrap us up, but what do you love most about building a career within an e-commerce business?
I think I love most that it's just the perfect blend of creativity and being analytical. And I think if you're somebody who, like me, struggled when first studying because it was so analytical and no creative output, I think that's like the perfect thing about e-com, is that it's a bit of both. And if you crave both in life, I think that's the perfect thing for you. And also, I just love that you're pretty much doing something different every day. Like, there's always something new. It's constantly changing, and it keeps you on your toes, which I think is really cool.
I love that. Any final tips, tricks, or things that you wanted to say to the people listening?
I think there was a piece of advice I was given once that I really wanted to share, especially if you're somebody starting out in e-com. Be a sponge. I think that is like the best advice I've ever been given. There is so much to learn from the people around you. And I think if you can soak up as much information as you can, that is the best thing you can do. And just leave your ego at the door. Those are the two pieces of advice I've been given that I'm like, I've kept that with me. And it's a recipe for success.
Well, you are successful and you're doing amazing things, and I can't wait to continue following your journey. If you want to connect with Hannah, I'll add her details somewhere in here. You'll be able to find them. So reach out to her. Obviously, please don't bombard her with lots of questions. But if you do have 1 or 2 questions, to definitely get in touch, or how to build an e-commerce career, I'm sure she would love to mentor some people that want to get into the industry and within that vertical. And of course, if you want to find a job within e-commerce, or you want to become an email marketer, don't forget to hit me up. I work with all these types of roles. So would love to be able to help you out if you're looking to pivot or grow a career within e-commerce. So thank you again so much, Hannah. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.